Fair or foul, the Astros officially have a new owner, but are fans celebrating this play?
A mother here in Houston is in the fight of her life. Why she is going through intense therapy just so she can hold her daughter.
And Diane Keaton makes a startling revelation.
What she admits in a new autobiography. This is KHOU 11 News.
Standing for Houston. KHOU 11 News at 5 starts now.
Good afternoon, I'm Greg Hurst.
And I'm Lisa Hernandez.
We want to take you straight to breaking news. We want to go to downtown Houston, where there is a live picture here of the scene, the Occupy movement and a confrontation with Houston police. You see officers on the scene, officers there on horseback. This is the Occupy Houston movement. They were making a move down the I-45 or down Travis Street toward the I-45 bridge over White Oak Bayou, but suddenly they just took a stop there by the spaghetti warehouse. Many of them started sitting in the middle of the street on Travis, and we understand at this point that police have called for a paddy wagon because this won't stand at this point.
Occupy organizers calling this the N17 day of action, joining protesters in New York as well as Los Angeles, Minneapolis, and Portland. Our own Rux Russell is live at the scene in Houston, downtown Houston, with the latest there. Rux.
Yeah, we're on the Travis Street Bridge downtown, and we are watching arrests unfold as we speak. We've got large demonstrations of civil disobedience out here. This is the Occupy Houston crowd, and they assembled in a park about 4 or 5 blocks from here. The crowd continued to grow over the last hour or so, probably swelling to a crowd of about 200, and then they started to march down this way. They hit Travis Street, came down, and as you can see by these pictures, you've got a large police presence, some mounted police. You got a paddy wagon here, and we've seen so far at least 3 arrests go down, but the civil disobedience continues. I think what you have going on primarily is people attempting to block this intersection, and so the police are systematically moving one after another. In fact, if you can come back to our picture on the ground, there's another arrest taking place as we speak. And this is arrest number 4. We've seen kind of all kinds of people being arrested, young, older, middle-aged, different races so far. So a pretty unified movement at this point, a coalition that I guess you could say has grown because there's a lot of students out here, some union representatives who are out here as well. For a long time, there's been the criticism of this movement that they didn't really have any clear demands. Well, I spoke with an organizer here. He said, here's the demands. They want jobs, not they want jobs, not budget cuts. They want schools repaired, roads and bridges repaired. They want children educated. They want teachers back in the classrooms, and they're calling for politicians to, in their words, keep their hands off Medicare and Medicaid. So those are the demands. The methodology in terms of how they get there remains somewhat unclear at this point. Ma'am, let me just ask you, I'm from Channel 11. You've got this sticker, the 99%. Can you tell me why you're here?
Yeah, I'm here because I think there's a very appropriate chant going around. Banks got bailed out, we got sold out. I think right now people are realizing that all these cuts, all these bills that are being passed, it's to cut sort of our jobs, our benefits. None of it is coming back to us. It's going to the top 1%. It's not exactly having a great effect for all the people that are out here. There's a lot of unemployed people. There's a lot of people like me who've been looking for a job.
So here's the question. It's a nice list of demands, but how do you get there from here? I mean, what's the methodology?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's a lot of people out here right now, so that's one way. And I think people who've seen us, a lot of people are agreeing with us, people that are passing by, and I think everyone who's just seen this on TV needs to come out and join us, because I think we can call our senators, we can do all that all day, but until they see just this raw people power, that's going to be, and that's always been what's really affected social change.
Okay, but blocking the intersection, rush hour, it may turn some people off. I mean, is that a concern?
Well, I think when you look at all the stuff that's been going on, a bailout for the banks in the billions, Bank of America not even having to pay federal taxes and cutting off now thousands of workers.
Are you concerned about turning people off by blocking the intersection at rush hour, things like that?
Well, I think, me personally, no, because I think that all kinds of tactics have been used for the last few hundreds of years, and none of them have really, the ones that have actually really made a difference have not really gone by the rules. And I think right now the important thing is people are out here demonstrating our power. We don't have the money, but we do have the people.
Thank you very much. So one voice in the crowd out here, a crowd of probably 200 and probably growing at this point. That's the latest. Let's send it back to you.
All right, Rux, thank you very much. You'll continue to follow that. So this is part of a bigger wave that continues to sweep the country. In New York today, 175 people arrested. The arrests continue down there in downtown Houston. We will continue to follow this and bring you more in later editions of 11 News.
All right, on to other news tonight. The Astros deal is done, but is it a home run for fans? Today, Major League Baseball approved the sale of the Astros to businessman Jim Crane.
Now, some baseball fans are crying foul over the team's move to the American League. Sports anchor Butch Alcindor is live at Minute Maid Park, where the press conference just wrapped up. Butch, we haven't exactly been dominating the National League, and I understand the argument from the purists, but I guess we can only hope the change of scenery will do us good.
Well, change is always tough. Sometimes it's just better to embrace it and move on. Jim Crane, that's what he's doing. He rolled up his sleeves today. He's ready to go to work as the new owner of the Astros. On Tuesday, he will start evaluating people like Tal Smith and general manager Ed Wade. But he did make one decision today. He said Pam Gardner, the president of business operations, will be staying on. So that's his first decision. Pam Gardner will be staying on with the Astros. Now, the other thing you need to know about Mr. Crane, simple. He plans to run the Astros like it's a business. So that means don't expect to see any high-priced free agents.
The commissioner gave a big speech this morning about not only spending money that you're making. I mean, a lot of teams subsidize the teams, and if you look at the scale, there's a lot of teams that don't cash flow and lose money. When you put a deal this size together with the amount of capital that's required, you've got to, it's just like running your budget. You can't spend more than you make. So if you do, we're in big trouble. So as the revenues increase and as the TV money comes in, we'll apply that appropriately.
One more quick note about moving to the American League. He did say he plans to reach out to the fans because Crane had no choice in this at all. If you wanted to buy the Astros, you had to move the team to the American League. Back to you, Lisa and Greg.
All right, Butch, thank you. So now long-suffering Astros fans have one more thing to complain about. KHOU 11 News reporter Doug Miller has a reaction from those fans dealing with the move to the AL West.
I married into the bagel business.
Ed Gavrilla can talk your ear off about bagels and baseball.
The Astros moving to the American League.
And so can some of his customers.
I am quitting the Astros.
You're quitting the Astros? That's harsh.
Well, today, the special at the New York Bagel and Deli comes with a heaping helping of opinion.
You're not going to quit them. You can't quit them. You still love the Astros, no?
Love them, hate them, or just live with them, it looks like the Astros are switching leagues, leaving behind old rivalries. The biggest impact? They'll probably play more baseball on the West Coast, so a lot of games will start and finish later at night.
It may be a boon for us, or it may not.
A guy in the glasses, his friends will tell you his son is Phil Garner, the former Astros manager.
Our kids are going to be sitting up at 9 o'clock at night when they ought to be doing their studies.
It'll be an adjustment families will just have to make.
But some fans here are still optimistic.
Maybe it'll help the home crowds go from 25,000 to 40.
And maybe, these guys say, we'll start some new traditions.
And the big rivalry with the Rangers is going to be huge. That's going to be, that'll be big time. And it'll put more people in the seats. I really think it's going to help.
But for now, this just gives Astros fans something else to argue about.
What do you know about baseball?
In Southwest Houston, Doug Miller, KHOU 11 News.
And we have more info on the Astros sale on our website at KHOU.com. We've gotten plenty of comments from viewers on what they think about the move to the American League. So let us know what your thoughts are on KHOU.com or on our Facebook page. More breaking news tonight from the criminal courthouse. Just about 30 minutes ago, a jury did reach a sentence for a man convicted of mutilating his girlfriend.
Gregory Longoria Jr. was sentenced to 30 years behind bars. Reporter Lisa Chavarria is live outside the courthouse. And Lisa, this was a very unusual case.
It most certainly was, Greg. The defense was arguing and even had the victim herself testify for the defendant, but the jury saw things differently. Had that guilty verdict yesterday. Today, 30 years was the sentence, and Gregory Longoria is going to have to serve at least 15 of those years in prison. Now, his family was crying when they heard that sentence read aloud, and it appeared as though he was even mouthing "I love you" to them as about 10 of his family members were sitting in the courtroom before he was taken away. Now, today it took the jury about a little over 5 hours to come to this conclusion. 30-year sentence again for Gregory Longoria. He was found guilty of aggravated assault of a family member against his girlfriend. Before the sentence, the prosecution asked jurors for life in prison. They say it was time to end the humiliation, embarrassment, and shame, and they also worried for future victims. The defense was saying that's not the case. The girlfriend testified and said it was just an adult sex game that went too far. Of course, we will have much more from both the defense and prosecution coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. We're live here from downtown Houston. Lisa Chavarria, KHOU 11 News.
A home invasion ends with a shootout as a father fights to protect his family. When the bullets stopped flying, both the dad and his 7-year-old son were wounded. Our Larry Seward is in the 100 block of Hartwick in North Houston, just blocks away from another home that was hit on Tuesday. And Larry, have you been able to find out if there's a connection?
Police do not believe there's a connection, Greg, but we do have some new details from police within the last hour telling us that the homeowner's daughter was coming home and was followed by suspects who forced her inside that house you see behind me, forced her to the ground along with her mother, her sister, and younger brother, all forced to the ground on their face and hands and knees. Chaos ensued after that. Detectives say the youngest boy ran into a hallway screaming for his father, being chased by 3 armed men. The boy's father came out of a room armed. A suspect fired first. That started a shootout, according to police, between 6 men and that homeowner. Somehow that homeowner chased the men out of his home. Witnesses saw some suspects flee in a beige van. Others ran away. Detectives believe 2 men who showed up later at LBJ Hospital with gunshot wounds are suspects in this shooting. They represent potential key leads in this case, and neighbors hope so because they fear today's home invasion is related to other burglaries that have happened here, but police don't think so.
We believe that this is actually a little different from obviously a traditional burglary. Typically speaking, burglars will usually enter a home trying to make sure it's unoccupied to try to steal things. We're not sure exactly what the motive is, why this house was actually targeted, or was it the female who was actually driving into the residence? Was she being targeted?
And police believe that the father and son will survive their injuries. The father shot in the neck, the stomach, and the side, and the son shot in his hand. We are live tonight in Northeast Houston. Larry Seward, KHOU 11 News.
All right, Larry, thank you for that. Police are hoping a security camera will be able to help them catch the gunman who shot and killed a grocery store employee in Southeast Houston. That worker was killed at a food town on Old Galveston Highway at El Dorado. Officers say the victim had just finished work when he confronted some people around his customized New Orleans Saints car. One of them opened fire and shot him several times, killing that man. Friends of his tell us he was a nice guy, a Katrina evacuee who was working 2 jobs.
And we're continuing to follow breaking news, a confrontation on the streets of downtown Houston between Occupy Houston protesters and Houston police. The occupiers had planned on marching to the I-45 bridge over White Oak Bayou to show their solidarity with other Occupy protesters around the country, but suddenly they just stopped right here on this street corner at Travis near the Spaghetti Warehouse. They decided to take a seat, many of them did, in the middle of the road, and that's when police moved in and they started pulling them out. As you see the paddy wagon driving off. Our Rux Russell's on the ground there trying to get more information. Rux?
Well, that's right. One paddy wagon just pulled off. Sergio, can you walk with me here? I want to give you all a look at the latest arrests. This is a second paddy wagon that's been brought in, and we're told this woman stepped off of the curb and refused to get back on the curb when the police approached her, and so she's being arrested. By now I count probably 10 or 11 arrests out here. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I mean, you've got all kinds of people who've kind of made this stance. Older people, this woman here, being one, and you've had some young folks, some students who've also been arrested. Essentially, they were all camped out in the middle of the street there on Travis, and they had blocked off this intersection. But as you can clearly see, traffic is now moving again, at least in one lane, and the police have asserted themselves out here. So we'll stay on top of this story and bring you more as developments warrant. Back to you.
We will check back with you. Thank you, Russ. A mother crippled by gunfire fights to recover so she can hold her newborn for the first time.
Hey, Jada. Wake up. Open your eyes for me.
We're in the Texas Medical Center following the story of a mother and child united for now through an iPad.
You're watching KHOU 11 News at 5 with Greg Hurst, Lisa Hernandez, and Chief Meteorologist Gene Norman with weather. KHOU 11 News at 5.
We continue to follow the Occupy protest here in Houston, but it comes on the day of the 2-month anniversary of the Occupy Wall Street movement. In fact, this is a live shot from New York City, where a huge crowd has flooded into the streets there. New York City police have arrested 175 people on the streets of New York, and likewise a large contingent of police are lining up opposite of the protesters, and so this continues to be a confrontation there. Similar protests are underway in Los Angeles and other large cities, including this one.
That's right. Police here in Houston watching the intersection of Travis and Commerce right near the spaghetti factory where protesters marched early this evening, late this afternoon, deciding to sit in that intersection. There was a handful of arrests. That intersection has since been cleared. You can see commuters going through that intersection at this point. Rex Russell is there live. He'll be there for us throughout the evening as this breaker warns. But we'll bring you more updates on the Occupy Houston protest as we get more information tonight.
All right, in the meantime, we want to share with you a remarkable story of survival. A young pregnant woman shot several times by an ex-boyfriend. She gave birth to a healthy baby girl.
But her fight is not over yet. Reporter Brad Woodard shows us the intense work she is doing at the Texas Medical Center.
You got it. Good. Very good.
As China Young comes to terms with what's known as the new normal at Tier Memorial Hermann.
You're on TV.
Several blocks away, her month-old daughter Jada is embarking on life in the ICU at Children's Memorial Hermann. The only link between the two.
Say hi, Mom.
An iPad.
And her eyes are open.
I'm sure you look forward to this, don't you?
Yeah, I just look forward to seeing her, but I get a little sad.
Why?
She's not with me.
Actually, it's a bit more complicated than that.
And it just makes me wish I had my old life back.
Life as she knew it changed back in June. It happened in Crowley, Louisiana, just days before her 18th birthday. Police say her estranged boyfriend forced his way into her home and shot her 4 times, leaving China paralyzed from the neck down. She was 2 months pregnant at the time.
We made it.
Once stabilized, China was transferred to the Med Center, and what followed was an unprecedented collaboration between Tier and Children's. For several weeks, she focused on therapy, her baby constantly being monitored. She was briefly transferred to Children's when it was time to give birth, and now it's back to therapy.
So you've got a baby on board?
Yeah. A fake baby.
Where she's learning how she will care for the real thing.
One of her big questions is whether or not she will be able to take care of her baby, and that worries her a lot and sometimes makes her feel pretty frustrated. But usually takes a little bit of encouragement, and then she's right up and going.
Her sadness is never far from the surface as she struggles.
Here you go, sweetie. Is that better? Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But the same goes for her smile. Brad Woodard, KHOU 11 News.
Right now we want to get to our weather. A few of the gals in the newsroom are dressed in their turtlenecks. Sherman, myself. Gene, where is yours?
Prepared. I don't have a turtleneck today, but it is going to get kind of chilly tonight. We've had a couple of these little cold snaps throughout the last couple of weeks. Another one on its way for today as we take a look at the temperatures by morning, getting down into the 30s. And, you know, it may even be a little bit colder than this in some locations, but at least getting down to 35 in Conroe, 41 downtown Houston, 51 on the island. So a pretty chilly night after a day today that saw the temperatures climb to 67 for a high. However, this cold snap won't last more than just tonight. And the reason why is because we're going to see a very quick shift in our winds. High pressure to our north and east will keep the easterly wind flow in the area tonight. But watch what happens on our super microcast model. I'm showing you the arrows, which indicates the wind direction, and this milky color here, yeah, those are the clouds. Already some high clouds starting to return by late tomorrow afternoon as the winds turn out of the southeast and eventually out of the south by early Saturday morning. And look at the clouds. They expand once again. So it'll just be a night or two of this chilly weather before temperatures could climb back up close to 80 degrees as early as Saturday and on into Sunday. Live look outside right now. It's beautiful out there as the sun sets over in the Galleria with our HD WeatherBug camera. 64 degrees. Again, that light northeast wind right now. Here at the KHOU studios, it's cooling down a little bit now. The sun is heading for the horizon. 62 here, but notice how dry the air is. Dew point only 31. That gives us a very low humidity of 31%. And depending on how low the dew point goes, that could be a good indicator of how cold it'll get in certain neighborhoods tonight. Elsewhere around the country, with the high pressure in control of our weather, the next concern is this cold front, which will gradually make some progress across the middle of the country over the next couple of days and could give us a chance for rain on Tuesday and Wednesday. Hopefully we get that rain out of here in time for the Thanksgiving parade. Otherwise, we'll see temperatures tonight quickly falling, 59 at 7 to 50 degrees at 10. We'll start today pretty cold at 41. Again, colder for some of our surrounding suburbs, but it will be a pretty nice day today. Mostly sunny, just a couple of high clouds during the afternoon. So despite a chilly start, I'm giving tomorrow a 10 on the Norman Numbers scale. Don't forget, you can follow the Norman Number on Twitter.com or by becoming a fan of my Facebook page. And then the 7-day forecast shows the warmer weather for the weekend. The rain moving into Monday and Tuesday could linger into Wednesday. But right now, Thanksgiving is looking good. Kind of cool for the parade, but nice and sunny with a high of 70 degrees. So we're hoping for that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gene.
All right.
Still ahead, a startling admission from a famous actress.
What Diane Keaton is now admitting about her relationship with Woody Allen.
He bruised a lot of Hollywood egos the last time he took the stage at the Golden Globes, but Ricky Gervais will be back again to host the award ceremony. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association voted to bring the British comedian back for the 2012 show. According to the LA Times, there was a group inside the organization adamantly against Gervais. He caused quite a stir at the last Globes by insulting some big-name stars.
In a new book, Diane Keaton reveals she was bulimic while dating Woody Allen. She says the problem started back in 1968 when she was 22 years old after joining the cast of Hair. Keaton says the famous director never confronted her about her binging and purging, but that he did send her to a psychoanalyst. She also admits that she is still in love with Allen and that probably disgusts him. Keaton's memoir entitled Then Again also talks about past relationships with Warren Beatty and Al Pacino.
We'll have more on the protest in downtown Houston when we come back.
We've been following the latest from downtown Houston. Rux Russell has a final report for us this half hour. Rux?
Hi, we're at Occupy Houston, Travis and Commerce. The crowd has begun to disperse. They're heading back home, I guess. But things were pretty intense out here for about an hour or so. A total of 13 arrests. We'll have more coming up on 11 News at 6.
And the CBS Evening News is coming up with more on this protest here and across the country.